All right, guys. So today we're going to be doing a live reaction to two articles that came out this morning. And the first one is just flat out ridiculous. It's from ESPN, specifically Seth Walder. And he's saying that Bo Nix will lose his starting job during the 2027 season, which will be his last as a Bronco. It's just crazy to think how some of these people get paid to talk football. And his reasoning just doesn't make sense. He ranked 28th in completion percentage over expectation, minus 2.4%, and 22nd in yards per dropback, 6.16, despite playing behind a top tier offensive line. And you can't exactly make the case that Knicks has the best offensive line because you also have to take into consideration of the Broncos' run game. The tight end position was the worst in football. And then the receiving position, Cortland Sutton is a stud. I thought he had one of the better seasons in the league. But outside of him, Marvin Mims Jr. got going late, but there just wasn't any production. That's why the Broncos brought in Evan Ingram. That's why they drafted Pat Bryant, J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey at the running back position, is so that Knicks can have legit weapons. I mean, this is why I didn't think the Broncos were going to be able to make an AFC threat. It was just because they didn't have the skill position players to do that. And if we transition into the next article, which is PFF, at the very bottom, it says that the ceiling of this team will depend on the impact of its offensive skill players. So it just goes to show you have an article from someone who knows what they're talking about and someone who doesn't, and you just put them together, and you can see how flawed it is, right? And this is coming from a non-biased perspective, right? I cover all 32 teams in the NFL. I run a Broncos channel. I run a channel of a bunch of other teams, right? This is going to go on Daily Broncos. But just from somebody who watches the game of football, I thought Bo Nix was already one of the better quarterbacks in the league, despite being a rookie. He just doesn't take sacks. He gets rid of it quickly. He can extend plays with his legs. And you look from, week 4 onward, he had the fewest turnovers in football. For a rookie, it's remarkably impressive playing in this tough division, AFC West. You got the Chargers twice a year, the Chiefs twice a year. I think the Raiders are going to be much improved. So I'm excited about Bo Nix. He's really the least of my concern. But in terms of the Broncos last season, they finished 21st in offensive grade, 16th in EPA per play on offense. Their defensive grade was 10th, but in terms of EPA allowed per play on defense, they were second. So clearly the issue of this team was the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they addressed the middle, of course, with Armstead and Hufanga. But offensively speaking, the strength of this unit is the offensive line. All 5 starters are returning. The group last season allowed a league-best 16.2% pressure rate and a 3.7% knockdown rate, which ranked 4th. They were strong in the run game as well, finishing 11th in run blocking grade. The unit standout is right guard Quinn Meinerz, whose 87.3 PFF grade ranked 2nd among qualified guards in 2024. And the film does show that Meinerz is the best guard in football. I mean, he's just an absolute monster. In terms of the biggest weakness offensively, it is receiving depth. So once again, there's not too many weapons on the Broncos that have been consistent. They're hoping that Evan Ingram can sort of change that around. Last season, dealt with injuries as he typically has in his career, just 365 yards. But when healthy, again, key is when healthy, he's one of the better tight ends in football, especially down in the red zone. I mean, I'd even argue he's the best tight end in the red zone. Like, he's that good, even better than, like, Kelsey and Kittle. I mean, I love me some Evan Ingram. We know what he brings as an athlete, of course, runs routes and one-on-one, just unstoppable because someone's not going to be able to match up with his size and strength and physicality. But also, what do they get out of Troy Franklin and Mims Jr. and Devon Veely, even, and Pat Bryant, is can these guys step up and be legit weapons for Denver? And then the run game as well was just so bad. J.K. Dobbins comes in. He's going to be getting some of the first-team reps, but the majority of the carries is going to be R.J. Harvey. And I think you can argue that Harvey was the most productive / best player for Denver in the preseason, just given the fact that he had no open run lanes and he still was able to make a lot of magic happen. I spoke to a 49ers fan yesterday, and he had nothing but praise for Harvey. Of course, just what he saw in that game, and I completely agreed. In terms of Bo Nix, 1.4% turnover-worthy play rate from week 4 onward, the best in the league over that span. Looking at Nix, his trademark efficiency and ball security into the NFL under head coach Sean Payton, certainly carried. While not quite matching the pinpoint accuracy of his final season at Oregon, he posted a 1.8% turnover-worthy play rate, tied for 5th best in the league. His deep passing exceeded expectations as well, with a 93.1 grade and throws of 20 plus yards, 8th best among qualified quarterbacks. Yeah, that's one thing a lot of people didn't know about Bo Nix when he entered the league is he's got an absolute cannon and he can throw the ball deep very accurately. And like I said earlier, his sack rate 91st percentile, so he doesn't just not turn it over, he doesn't take sacks, which is massive, especially for a younger quarterback. And then in terms of Marvin Mims Jr., he enters 2025. And this is talking about fantasy, but I'll translate it into football because like I don't even play fantasy football, but like we'll make it work. So he enters this year as a late round fantasy flyer with intriguing upside after a quiet start to his career. He flashed last season, ranking 23rd in PPR points per game, 15.5 over a 7-game stretch. In that span, he posted an elite 89.7 receiving grade, was targeted on 30.4% of his routes, and averaged 4.25 yards per route run. Once primarily a deep threat, his average depth of target dropped to 4.2 yards, reflecting a more versatile role. His playing time expanded in the playoffs as he took the field for 69% of possible snaps. So yeah, Mims clearly, as the season went on, got better and better. And it's kind of funny because he once was seen as a deep threat, but then he became a guy who caught the ball underneath on like a screen or quick pass and was able to take it the distance or for a lot of yards after the catch. I think Mims can do everything, but Denver, they were just very, very predictable last year, and I think that hurt Mims more than anyone, which brings me to my next point, which is RJ Harvey. So does he go over 700.5 rushing yards? Bettors seem to think he is. I find it ridiculous to believe that he's not. As long as he's healthy, I think he's gonna crush that. I think Jacob Dobbins is gonna have a solid season in his own right. Harvey charted above the 85th percentile in missed tackle rate, force per attempt, and breakaway rate 97th, proving he's a threat to take any carry to the house. I don't know why my mic unplugged right there, but Harvey, from someone who watched him a lot at UCF, I think he's just a strong physical back with underrated breakaway speed, and he sort of fits what the Broncos need because he just can run right through you, he can run around you, and we saw that film against, of course, the preseason game for the Broncos. That didn't really exactly lie, as he looked like a stud. And then defensively, Patrick Surtain, Jahdae Barron, these guys are going to be a lot of fun playing next to each other. I mean, in his final season at Texas, Barron led all Power 4 cornerbacks in coverage grade and topped the FBS in zone coverage grade 91.5. His extensive experience both in the slot and on the outside could allow him to play a Trent McDuffie-style role in Vance Joseph's defense. I think Trent McDuffie is a good example, and if he's anything close to that, the Broncos absolutely nailed this pick. I mean, McDuffie can match up with pretty much any receiver and hold his own. He was a huge, huge reason why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He's just absolute menace. From someone I've watched a lot of him too, just the film and things like that, breaking down the Chiefs. Unfortunately, I'm a Broncos channel, but I have done that. And yeah, in terms of Surtain, I mean, Defensive Player of the Year, absolutely deserved every second of it. I mean, it's just crazy to see a cornerback winning Defensive Player of the Year. Normally it goes to like a defensive end or something like that. But yeah, that's going to be the video. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. It's your boy Daily Broncos. I'm about to sign out. And what a crazy take. Bo Nix is going to be not starting for the Broncos after 2027. Just ridiculous, man. Just trying to get clicks.